Hello everyone. Today I'd like to talk to you about GMO foods. And for those of you who do not know what GMO foods are, they are genetically modified organisms that are engineered to grow in harsh environments and so they can prosper with pesticides and whatnot. So today I'd like to make the argument that GMO foods are unsafe. They're unsafe because they are destructive to the environment. Firstly, they're destructive to the environment because they give rise to super weeds and bugs that resist genetically engineered crops. In a study conducted by Iowa State University, they found that an insect called the corn rootworm that feeds on corn has adapted to the insecticide producing corn known as BT corn, which is a GM crop engineered by the agricultural giant Monsanto that profits from these seeds. They also another reason why they're destructive to the environment is because they contaminate organic crops and destroy fertile lands. And the reasoning for that is that the pollen from genetically engineered crops within their designated forests / lands contaminate non-GMO crops. So basically, in an article written by Lawrence Woodward and Megan Noble of gmeducation.org, they state that maize, sugar, beet, barley, among others, are wind and insect pollinated, allowing pollen to travel large distances. Peas, wheat, and beans are self-pollinating normally, although when conditions are favorable, these species are also wind-pollinated. In some cases, plants must be pollinated and cross-pollinated in order for the seeds to be viable. Another reason why GMOs are unsafe is because they're harmful for human consumption. And firstly, they're harmful for human consumption is because they trigger allergic responses. By introducing DNA from gene splicing from another species into another species, you're introducing unknown allergens to consumers that purchase these products. A quote from the website article by Jeffrey M. Smith reads, "Allergic reactions from BT crops," which is also GMOs, evidence suggests that BT toxins itself is a major factor. The BT proteins that are found most currently registered BT corn varieties would not pass the allergic test protocol described in the 2001 report of the WHO, basically stating that when you're getting like the pesticide from the natural pesticide from the soil, these scientists are taking the pesticide from the natural soil and taking the bacteria and putting the gene from the bacteria into the corn or any other crop, and these are triggering reactions with people that are unknowingly digesting these products. Another reason why GMOs are unsafe is because they damage the farming industry. They damage the farming industry in two ways: financially and for the well-being of their own farm. In short-term yields are evident. Over time, they produce little financial benefit. On the long term, farmers spend more money on maintenance than they do on the crops themselves. With the constant adaptation of bugs and weed, farmers are forced to spray pesticides in order to save the GMO crops. This may damage the overall ecosystem and future agricultural uses that farmers depend on GMO crops. And that concludes my argument.
All right, Anthony, the topic's identified adequately. You've got a very clear statement of your proposition. It sounds like you're going to offer us a preview, but it sounds to me in the preview like the only issue you're going to talk about are environmental issues, and then there's a supporting point that deals with contaminating the land. As it turns out, that's actually just your first point, so there's not really a preview of what the other points are going to be. Now, you do identify those points in the body of the speech, so I thought that that was pretty good. Internally, there is a structure, and I can see where those points are, but there ought to be a preview at the beginning to let us know what the arguments are that are coming up. So those signposts, when you got to them, were okay. We got environmental issues, human consumption issues, and problems with economic issues. So that's really the structure of the speech. And so at the beginning, that's the way it should sound. You know, that genetically modified organisms are substantially harmful to our agricultural process. I'm going to show you first that they are dangerous to the agricultural environment. Second, that they are harmful to the consumers in terms of their health. And finally, I'm going to show you that they're economically harmful to those particular points. That's the way the opening should sound. And then it's very clear where everything is. Like I said, I thought you signposted those points when you got to them pretty well. You started off pretty well also citing evidence. I appreciated that you attributed data on the corn rootworm, that you had a quote for the cross-contamination issue. So you're giving us source citations on that. I thought that the issue about the allergies was a little bit less clearly cited, and the stuff that talks about how much money people are going to have to spend on maintenance income as opposed to developing their crops, that sounds to me like it's an argument. It may be some expert's opinion on this, but that person's not being cited, and there needs to be some support for that particular argument. So I thought that that was a little bit problematic when it came to the evidence. I think you're doing a pretty good job delivering the speech, and that you've got, I think, enough information in the presentation to make an argument and make a claim on it. You could probably use a little bit more on a couple of those points to strengthen those arguments and make them more substantive. At the end of the speech, you just kind of stop. It seems like you get to a point and you slam on the brakes and I'm done. You need that summary at the end to remind us. So we know that genetically modified organisms are problematic to the environment because they are producing adapted species that are dangerous. We know that they're dangerous to human consumption because people are having allergic reactions to the pesticides that are being integrated into those crops. And by the way, that would have been a good place to have some data that showed people are actually having this. You know, if you got an example of somebody who got sick because they ate genetically modified foods, or that we have a higher level of some kind of infirmary that people get. They got more diarrhea, or they've got headaches or whatever it is.
I didn't find any research on that. I did find a lot of research on allergens from like French, European companies, and they've done a lot of they have like a lot of studies that I didn't quite get to cite.
So like I said, I think that you need a little bit more on that. That would make that argument a little bit better. And then finally, we know that that these products in the long run are not going to benefit the farmers and reduce our costs and make it more expensive because they're having to spend so much more money on these particular products. As a consequence, therefore, I think everybody can agree that genetically modified organisms are harmful to the agricultural community. So just come back to the end, remind us, here's what my argument is, and finish off strong instead of that kind of weak. You're practically shrugging your shoulders, saying I'm done. Remind us of what the argument was, make it one last time, and sell us on that point. All right, thank you.